Hey guys, alright, so let's do a review so that you are ready for your Imperialism and Progressives unit combo test. Okay, alright, so let's go over a couple of things. We'll do Imperialism first, so remember, make sure that you know your vocab. Make sure that you know that Imperialism is referencing larger nations that are trying to take over weaker nations, which of course, if the U.S. wants to be a world power, that's exactly what we need to do through colonies, buying more territory. So that's, of course, how we acquire Alaska and Hawaii. And then, of course, don't forget about the Spanish-American War, okay? All right, speaking of the Spanish-American War, remember that Cuba gains their independence, and we also get Puerto Rico and Guam as territories, but we purchase the Philippines, so that is a little bit of a difference, okay? The Philippines, we acquire the Philippines through, again, purchasing them, $20 million. We work that out through the Treaty of Paris. But the difference is that we, in 1949, do give the Philippines their independence. With Hawaii, it's a little bit different. Alaska, we purchased from Russia, but Hawaii is a little bit different. With Hawaii, we choose to start out a business deal. We start renting land so that we can farm sugarcane and pineapple plantations. However, we start to get greedy. Our farmers start to complain that the natives are messing with their crops. Our farmers call in for the military to come. Our military, the Marines, come in, put the island on military lockdown, and then we end up later annexing them as a territory. Whenever everything got started for the Spanish-American War, we hear that the Cubans are calling for help because they say that the Spanish are harassing them, they're mistreating them, they're being tyrants. And of course, that makes us remember when we were a colony of Great Britain. Our newspapers start exaggerating these horrible stories. Of course, that's what we call yellow journalism. So those extreme exaggerations are what people are going by when we're deciding, how we feel, if we should intervene and assist them in fighting the Spanish. But of course, the final piece to the puzzle is whenever we send in the USS Maine, the battleship, to Havana Harbor, who's there just for observation. We do have American businesses. We do have land that we are renting from them, again, for sugarcane plantations, other business interests. And so we are monitoring our business interests. We're there to observe. And we're there, of course, if we need to evacuate any Americans before something goes down. The USS Maine explodes. We blame the Spanish. And, of course, then we declare a war. Let's see. I made myself a list. I'm trying to make sure I go through my list. Don't forget that it is President McKinley that is president during the Spanish-American War. It is during his second term in office that Theodore Roosevelt will be his vice president and, of course, take over after he is assassinated. Okay. Now, let's see. A couple more things about the Philippines. One of the biggest reasons why we were so interested in the Philippines, again, becoming a world power, having all these new territories, is we need to be able to also protect them. So we've built up our Navy. However, we need to make sure that we have refueling stations spread out in strategic locations. And so, of course, the Philippines also offer an awesome opportunity for us to have a naval base located, again, in several places out in the Pacific. Okay, next, open door policy. That is reference to us opening up the doors to trade with China. That's a big one. Again, as us becoming a world power, we need to make sure that we have several options and opportunities to trade and get resources, again, making that money. As we go from an isolated nation to an imperialist nation, we are going to change our foreign policy. The Monroe Doctrine, which we established in 1820, set up for us that no other country should interfere in this hemisphere, North and South America, what we call our neighborhood. And the Roosevelt corollary is going to build on that and say not only should you not interfere, but if you do, we will use military force. Okay. Now, let's see. I think we're making it through my list. Let's see what else I have got. Oh, don't forget, as far as us building a Navy, we need a way to get our Navy as quickly as possible from one location to another. So another thing that we're going to do is build the Panama Canal. Panama Canal was originally a colony of Colombia. We kind of encouraged them to fight for their independence. They gained their independence, and of course our prize for assisting them, encouraging them, providing resources is being able to build the canal. We do have several different little political party groups that pop up during this time period. We do have the new Progressive Party that pops up. We also have a socialist, an American Socialist Party that's kind of been up and going for a little while. And socialists believe that government and business, or government needs to have more control of business. And that way, they should theoretically know more about what's going on with workers and assist with workers' rights. Okay, now, let's see. Let's kind of switch over. Let's switch over to, for just a few minutes, progressives, and then we've got some terms that kind of bounce back and forth between the two. All right, so we have 3 progressive presidents. We've got Roosevelt, Taft, and Wilson. Roosevelt is going to come in, and he's going to be known as a trust buster. He's going after these major companies and industries. He's going to be the first, during the 1902 coal strike, he's going to be the first to stick up for workers and fight for workers' rights instead of big business. He's also going to win a Nobel Peace Prize for mediating the Russo-Japanese War. Roosevelt is also, after Taft finishes his, or not finishes, but does his first term in office, Roosevelt's actually going to come back to try and win a third term. Well, I don't know, 2.5, I guess, because he finishes McKinley's and he does have a term of his own. He tries to come in and win the 1912 election. However, Taft is also going to run again for his what would have been his second term in office. However, Taft is the Republican candidate, so that means Roosevelt has to create a third party in order to run. So he creates the Progressive, also known as the Bull Moose Party. Unfortunately, since those guys are dividing a major party, the Republican Party kind of splits between the two candidates. It pretty much is given to Wilson and the Democrats on a silver platter for the 1912 election. Let's see. We do work on a lot of government issues. There's a lot of government corruption, again, getting rid of political machines, and so that's why we're working on so many voting reforms as well. We're working on the 17th Amendment. 17th Amendment, direct election of senators. No more politicians picking other politicians. Recalls. If an elected official is not doing their job, we call for a recall, which means that we call for a vote to remove them from office. You've got initiatives and referendums. An initiative is where you, as the voter, get to write something down on the ballot. So let's say in November that I want the General Assembly in Raleigh to vote for school to have a 4-day school week, Monday through Thursday. So I write that on the ballot. That's an initiative. I am writing something down that I would like for them to consider maybe turning it into a law. And then a referendum means if I go in and there's something on the ballot that I, as a citizen, can vote on directly, maybe the General Assembly already has that on the ballot. And they're asking me, what do I think about a 4-day school week? And I can vote yes or I can vote no. Voting directly on the ballot, that's a referendum. A direct primary meaning that you, as a party member, as a Republican, as a Democrat, as an independent, as a party member, you get to vote and choose the person that you want to see represent your political party in the general election. So all these new changes are coming about so that voters have more of a say in government. Remember that Taft busts twice as many trusts as Roosevelt does. Don't forget, we talked about Muckrakers. Muckraker is a journalist who's exposing all the corruption and the crime and the terrible, awful stuff that's happening. You've got Ida Tarbell, who goes after the Standard Oil and Rockefeller and his price gouging. You got Upton Sinclair, who writes a book called The Jungle, who goes after the meatpacking industry and how nasty that is, which also means that we're going to see the creation of the FDA, and we're going to see the creation of the Pure Food and Drug Act, thanks to that, and the Meat Inspection Act. Let's see. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. We also see the very beginning of prohibition as well. 18th Amendment prohibition, meaning we're trying to eliminate alcohol. We see that as being a social problem. So suffrage, to vote. Remember, suffrage means to vote. Prohibition, getting rid of alcohol. Again, we talked about several voting amendments. 17th Amendment, direct election of senators. This unit also included the 16th Amendment, income taxes, and then, of course, 19, finally giving women the right to vote. Okay. All right, guys, that was a super quick review going through both units. I did kind of touch on the answer to your bell ringer today as well. So do well on your test and have a good day.